Okay then. So hello everyone, welcome to this massive open online course on embedded systems presented by Vikas Mahor, myself. I am assistant professor in the electronics engineering department at MITS Gwalior. So this course is brought to you by Madhav Institute of Technology and Science. So let's start the course. The syllabus and topics that I'll cover in this course, I have divided this complete course in 5 different parts. First part would be the introduction to embedded system. So this will cover the architecture of the embedded system, its classifications, its design issues, the different types of architecture like von Neumann and Harvard architecture, and then we'll quickly jump to the very basic embedded system, that is 8051 based embedded system, because once we complete that part, then we'll be able to understand that what are the different sophisticated embedded systems that are designed in today's era. Then we'll go to the second unit. In the second unit, I have taken the assembly language programming because once you are designing the embedded system, you should know what is lying within the embedded system. So that is the microcontroller, and we should be able to understand the programming, the assembly language programming of embedded system. Then we'll go towards the third unit that will cover some aspects of again the 8051, because we have to focus more on the 8051. Once we are thorough to the 8051, then we can go to the some other advanced microcontrollers. Fine. So we'll cover the timers, serial ports, the interprogramming, and all these things, all these aspects of 8051. Then we'll go towards the fourth unit where we would be interfacing the real world devices. Fine. So actually we would be interfacing the real world devices with the 8051 microcontroller. Once all you participants will be able to understand the interfacing of 8051 with the real world devices, like LCD, matrix keypad, the LED, all these things. If you are able to interface, program these devices with 8051, then you will be able to understand that in a real scenario how do you interface real world devices with other microcontrollers. Fine. Then as we have already completed almost all the aspects of 8051, then we'll cover the interfacing with the Arduino board. Most of the times when the embedded system is designed in today's world, they here and there they consist somewhere Arduino. Fine. So we in the fifth unit we'll cover the directly we'll cover, rather than starting the basics of Arduino, will directly cover the interfacing of the Arduino board with the real world devices. Fine. So this is how our the syllabus will go on. Fine. So this is the course outcome which a student or a learner can achieve after completing this course. He or she will be able to explain the architecture of the embedded system. He or she will be able to develop the skills in programming of 8051. He or she will be able to analyze the concepts of timer, serial ports, and other aspects of 8051. He or she will be able to interface 8051 as well as the Arduino with real world devices. Fine. So let's start the course. We all are surrounded by embedded system. If we see around us everywhere, like this digital classroom itself, or if we go in a household where we have a microwave, where we are having automatic washing machines. I have taken a picture of a car here, a luxurious car. So all these things which are automatic, fine, all those electronic systems which are automatic, they consist of embedded system. Fine. So let me tell you a data. A luxurious car like Lamborghini, it consists of almost 80 embedded processors into that. We never realize that, because we know that if anything is automatic, that means electronics is involved. But what kind of electronics is involved, we never bother about that. It is nothing but embedded system. For example, opening a door of car, opening a window of car, the stereo system, the AC system, the cooling system, heating system, all those automatic systems, they consist of embedded. Fine. So that is embedded system, and it is very difficult to find that an automatic electronic system that doesn't consist of an embedded. Fine. So that is embedded system. An embedded system is designed to run on its own. This is one of the aspects of embedded system. It is designed to run on its own without any human intervention, that you might have all seen in real world. Fine. So let's proceed. Embedded system means processor is embedded into that application. Fine. Where does this word embedded came from? Embedded means when you embed a processor or a computing unit into an application. That is embedded processor. Fine. So an embedded product uses a microcontroller. Essentially, it either uses a microprocessor or a microcontroller, because when you are giving computing power to our electronic system, you have to give either a microprocessor or a microcontroller to that device, and then only it can do an automation. Fine. So that is an embedded system. Any system that is designed for a specific task, and if you give automation either using microprocessor or a microcontroller, then that is an embedded system. Fine. So typical examples which the learners might have seen in their life are like printer. You might have not realized a simple printer or a keyboard which is attached to your personal computer. It is not guided by the microprocessor inside your CPU. It is guided by its own embedded system. Fine. So we'll see those things also. Definition. Let's come to the definition, because we are starting the course, so definition is very necessary. An embedded system is a special purpose computer system designed to perform certain dedicated functions. So this is very clear from its definition, that is, it is designed for a specific task. It is usually embedded as a part of complete device, including hardware or a mechanical part. So it can be mechanical, it can be movable, it cannot be movable, but the one thing is that the automation, we are achieving the automation either a microprocessor or a microcontroller, and that particular thing would be known as, that particular system would be known as embedded system. Fine. One important definition which I have taken from a very renowned author of embedded system, that is Merlin Wolf. Any sort of device which includes a programmable computer but itself is not intended to do a general purpose computation, that is an embedded system. What does it say? It says that any system which is doing automation, which involves a computing unit but not doing a general purpose work, it is defined only for a specific task, that is an embedded system. I hope these definitions are clear to you, but we cannot define an embedded system strictly with a definition. There are n number of definitions, so I have taken just two. If you Google the definition of embedded system, you'll get n number of definitions. Fine. All those definitions, they all merge towards a simple thing, that any automated system which is designed for a specific task, that is an embedded system. That's it. Fine. Let's proceed. After the definitions, for me, what is an embedded system? RFID tag, which is used to open an automatic gate, it's an embedded system. Your own mobile phone, if you are scoring it, if you are doing a calling through Android or whatever you are doing, that is an embedded system. A POS, point of sale machine, if you have seen in the market, which you are when you are using the digital transaction through your ATM or credit cards, it's an embedded system. And the buzzword of the century, the Internet of Things, of course, how can we forget that? An Internet of Things where n number of embedded systems are connected through the network and they are controlled by a single computer. So that is an embedded system. Fine. So all these are embedded systems. Now let's come to this, that when we are giving the computation power to a system, then how do we do that? Automatically, when a learner will think of embedded system, a computational power in an embedded system, he or she will definitely think that a microprocessor or a computer will definitely be involved in that. Because automatically a learner will think of this, that whenever we are giving a computational power to a system, that means a computer is involved. Computation means computer. We all know the computation is done by the computer. But still there are n number of such systems which do computation similar to a computer. Fine. There are n number of such things which do computation similar to a computer. Those are embedded computing systems. Those are known as embedded computing system. For example, I'll give you an example for that. If you are using an automatic washing machine, I've taken some pictures of that. If you are using an automatic camera, DSLR camera, definitely you won't be using a i7 processor for that. You won't be using a computer for that. You are making it automatic, but you still not using a computer for that. How do you do that? You would be definitely using any other IC, any other electronic thing to make it as a computational unit. So that is basically the embedded computing system. And those embedded computing system can be either a microprocessor, a dedicated microprocessor which do not do a general computing, it do only specific task. It is manufactured for doing a specific task, or a microcontroller which can be programmed for doing a specific task. We'll see in the next slides that how a microprocessor or a microcontroller can be used for designing these embedded computing systems. Fine. Let's take a data that average middle class Americans use 40 to 50 embedded systems in day-to-day life. When they use microwave, when they use their washer, dryer, dishwasher, TV, VCR, stereo, and whatever they have, they on an average they use 40 to 50 embedded system, and we do not realize that we have used embedded systems. And as I have already given the example that a luxurious car like Lamborghini, it uses 80 embedded processors. Fine. And even the learners or the students who are learning from this open course, when you're using your personal computer, you're almost using 10 embedded system apart from the CPU which you are using in your desktops or laptops. Apart from that processor, you are using 10 different embedded systems to control your entire computer systems. Like graphical accelerator, it also consists of its own microcontroller or microprocessor, mouse, keyboard, hard drive, all those interfacing devices, they consist of their own embedded systems. We even never realized this, that we thought it is all done by the CPU. No, it's done by different embedded systems. They take care of these interfacing. We'll see them one by one. So in one of our unit, I have included the interfacing of one kind of microcontroller, that is 8051, with these devices like keyboard, mouse, and all these things. So we'll learn that how they work when you interface them with a different system. Fine. Now let's come to the classification. Once we have understood what is an embedded system, let's try to understand what are the different classifications of an embedded system. So we can classify the embedded system in various aspects. One of the aspect is the performance requirement or the functionality. Fine. So here I have given the classification on the basis of its functionality. It can be standalone embedded system, it can be real-time embedded system, it can be networked information appliances kind of system, or a mobile devices. So we'll see them one by one. For example, standalone embedded system. So as the name suggests, stand alone. So standalone means it can do all things by its own. It doesn't need any human intervention. Once you manufacture this kind of embedded system, it will work automatically. An example for this can be like a surveillance kind of camera. In a surveillance camera, you put the surveillance camera in a particular area to surveillance that particular area, and the recording of that is done automatically. You need not to intervene anything, you just need to view the output. And what is the output? Output is the video. Fine. So that is a kind of standalone embedded system, and you can think of n number of examples around you. Fine. Another one is the real-time embedded system. This is one very important one because most of the embedded systems are based on this. This category is for those embedded systems which are strictly time bound. Fine. Strictly time bound means if you are using an embedded system which is designed for a task which should be completed in a specific time, that is known as time bound system or real time embedded system, which does the computing in real time. Fine. So it can again be classified as a hard time bound system and a soft time bound system. So a hard time bound system could be something like this. If you are designing let's say if you are designing a missile guided system, fine, if an ISRO is designing a missile guided system or DRDO is designing a missile guided system, then what happens, they design a missile something like this, that it obeys the path of its target until till the target is moving. Till the target is achieved, it obeys the path of its own target. Fine. It keep on tracking that path. Fine. It changes its paths in every millisecond. If it does not do that, if it does not track it in real time, it may miss the target. Fine. It may miss the target, and it will definitely miss the target. So these things had to be taken care of, and when you design an automated embedded system for such kind of missile guided system, you call that as hard time bounded system. Then what could be the example of soft time bounded system? The soft time-bounded system could be like, for example, our washing machine, automatic washing machine. You use an automatic washing machine with a timer, fine. So it is also having a timer. If you make it automatic, so you call it as a time-bounded system, a time-bounded embedded system. But still, that is not hard time-bounded, but it is a soft time-bounded. Why? Because if your clothes are drying in 10 minutes, if it dries, if it works for more 10 more seconds, it won't harm you, fine. It won't harm your clothes, it won't harm you as a user, fine. So it's no issue, so it's a soft time bound real system. So actually why I'm defining this category, because the criteria for choosing a microprocessor or a microcontroller for an embedded system depends upon that what type of embedded system you are trying to design. If you are trying to design a soft time bounded embedded system, you will be using a microcontroller or microprocessor that does not have that much throughput, that does not have that much performance, fine. A minimum performance kind of processor would work for a washing machine, but for designing a guided missile system, you have to use a very accurate and very high speed processor or microcontroller, fine. That's why I'm defining this category. We'll again come to this category. I have one example of this, that in a CPU itself, when you do the round robin system, you might have heard of round robin system. If you've not ever heard of that, I'll explain you. When in a CPU, what is done, that how the multitasking is achieved in a CPU, a complete process has been divided into 4 different tasks, and each task is given 500 milliseconds, exactly 500 milliseconds, fine. So what does CPU does? The CPU switches from one task to another and exactly gives only 500 milliseconds to it, fine. So that comes under the category of the hard time bounded system. If you see, the green means 500 milliseconds. So it is doing green only for 500 milliseconds. If it gives more time or a less time, then a catastrophic may occur, fine. So this comes under the real time hard time bounded embedded system. Let's move forward. The next category is network based embedded system, and I need not to go deep into this because we all know that network means all those devices which are connected to network, like Internet of Things. So if such a system is developed where n number of devices are connected together and they are controlled by an embedded system, that kind of embedded system will come under the category of network based embedded system, fine. So we'll see this with an example. Now let us come to the block diagram, fine. So as we have already understood the embedded system, its definition and all those examples which I have taught you, one of the block diagram which I could, the very basic block diagram which I could make with all these definitions is this one, where it will consist of a processor, because definitely it will be consisting of processor somewhere, because it is doing computation, it is doing automation. So a processor is involved. Then a system bus is involved. Definitely it would be having a ports which will take input from a sensor. It can be a temperature sensor, humidity sensor, sound sensor, video sensor, whatever it is. It will be taking an input from the sensor. Then it will be processing that through the processor, and it will be giving an output through an actuator, through a light, through a LED, through a LCD, or whatever it is. So definitely it will be involving a processor, a system bus which gives the connection between output and processor, a control system which will be controlling all these modules, input which will be taking the input towards the processor, and a memory definitely which will be consisting of a program. That program will be executed on this processor, fine. So this is a very basic block diagram which I could draw for an embedded system, fine. There are n number of block diagrams that you will find in a book of embedded system, but this is the very basic block diagram which you can take for an embedded system, fine. And then embedded system, if you design an embedded system, it could be something like this. I have taken an example where how you can design an embedded system. See, an embedded system would be definitely using a microprocessor or a microcontroller, as I have already told you. So here is an example where where an IC, that IC could be a microcontroller, or it could be an FPGA, it could be an CPLD, it could be a microprocessor. If learner doesn't know what is a CPLD, FPGA, no issues, it doesn't have to do anything with this subject. You just consider that this is an electronic IC. This IC needs a program or it's a microprocessor or microcontroller which needs a program to execute. Fine. So we are giving the program, we are giving a high level program, then we are compiling it through a compatible compiler which is compiled into a lower level language that could be understood by the microcontroller or microprocessor. It is executed by the microcontroller. Once your microcontroller is ready with that program, now you can use that microcontroller or processor anywhere in any embedded system for which it is designed. Fine. So this is how you design an embedded system. Once you choose a microcontroller, feed an appropriate program into that, and then use that embedded IC anywhere in any embedded system, wherever you wanted to use it. Fine. So let's proceed. As I've already told you, you can use a microprocessor or you can use a microcontroller, both. Fine. I've also told you about the difference, that which one could be used and which one can't be used. Now let's see, if we try to use microprocessor or a microcontroller, then what happens? If you use a microprocessor, so we should know what is a microprocessor, what is the basic definition of a microprocessor. We all know, the learners, definitely the learners would be knowing this, but still let's review that. So a microprocessor is a general purpose system. It is designed for doing general purpose computation. We all know that. It is designed for doing general purpose computation like Intel's 8085, 86 architecture, the i3, i5 and i7 processors which we use today in today's era. All those are microprocessors. Fine. Those microprocessors are designed for doing a general purpose work. It can be used for the weather forecasting, it can be used for simple drawing, it can be used for programming, it is used for everything. Fine. It is used for in our institutes itself, it is used for a number of purposes. So it's a general purpose processor. It is designed for doing general purpose computations. Fine. If you go towards the microcontroller, then the microcontroller is a smaller computer. It's a kind of smaller computer. Fine. It on a single IC, the integrated circuit single IC, on a single IC it consists of its own processor, the memory, that is RAM and ROM, the ports which is used to connect with the outer environment, the timer, the serial ports, and a number of things which are provided on a same IC. So definitely if you are designing an embedded system to achieve a specific task, so you would be using a microcontroller, you will be preferring a microcontroller rather than designing a sophisticated kind of system using a microprocessor. Fine. Once we'll cover our units one by one, you will definitely get clear into this, that why we are preferring microcontroller over a microprocessor when we are designing a embedded system. Fine. We would be preferring a microcontroller definitely because it consists of everything what a embedded system would be using. Fine. Let's move forward. So this is very clear that we would be using an embedded system. Now the question arises, what kind of embedded system? In our course we'll study in very detail that what kinds of embedded system are there in the market, existing in the market. Fine. So let's briefly talk about that in our introductory class itself, that what kind of microcontrollers are available. What are these microcontrollers we'll be covering in the next classes, but let us try to understand that what are the different kind of microcontrollers which are available and how we will be used in the embedded system. So microcontrollers are available on the basis of its size, that how much data it can process at a single time, whether it can process 4 bits of data, it can process 8 bits of data, 32 bits of data. Depending upon that, there are different kinds of microprocessor. Then depending upon the amount of memory which it is having. Fine. So depending upon the amount of memory which it is having, because when you are using a microcontroller, definitely you will be giving a program to that will be executing a program and it will be making that system automatic. Fine. So in a kind of software you are giving to that. Fine. So if you are using a large size software, that is in some MBs, in GBs maybe, so you have to use that kind of microcontroller which would be having that much memory. Fine. And then depending upon the instruction set, that could be CISC or RISC. I'll be explaining this in the next class, that what is CISC and RISC. For now you can understand this is a type of instruction set, the type of instruction which it is using for execution. Fine. So they can be two types, set out of two types, CISC and RISC. So we can choose that in that way also. Then there are two types of architectures basically, or the microprocessors and our microcontrollers, they use two type of architecture, Princeton and Harvard. I'll be explaining this also in the next class, that what are these architectures. Fine. So we can choose the microcontroller on that basis also. Then further, if we see more microcontrollers, there is a family of microcontroller, that is they can be 8051 architecture based, they can be Motorola based. 8051 is a very famous architecture of Intel. Fine. So 8051 based, Motorola based, PIC microcontroller, Texas based, National Instrumentation based, ARM based, and there are a long list of microcontrollers. Fine. Most of the microcontrollers, they are based on 8051, like Intel, as I have already told you, Atmel, Dallas, Philips, Siemens, they all are using 8051 architecture. Fine. So I'll be giving you the examples of interfacing when I will be covering the 4th unit. I'll be giving you the examples that how 8051 based microcontroller like Intel and Atmel, they could be interfaced with the railway devices. So the question remains intact, that which microcontroller needs to be chosen for a particular embedded system. So it depends completely on the targeted application. If your targeted application requires a large amount of memory for software, you will be using definitely using a kind of microcontroller which would be having a large size of memory. Fine. If you wanted to process a large size of data within a smaller time, then you would be using a microcontroller that would be having large size of bits. Fine. That would be supporting large size of bits. You would be knowing that, because 32-bit data to 16-bit data at a time, or 64-bit data at a time, you would be using your mobile phones also. You would be using as a 64-bit processor or 32-bit processor. You would be knowing that. So that is also one of the category for choosing the microcontroller. So, and memory architecture also, I'll tell you how do we select the microcontroller on the basis of memory architecture. So one thing is very clear here, that on the basis of the targeted application, you choose the microcontroller. Fine. For example, if it's a hard time bounded system, as I've already told you in an example, like missile guided system, you have to use a microcontroller which is having a very high speed and it is very accurate. But for designing a soft time bounded system, you can design it using a cheaper microcontroller. Fine. So this is how you choose a microcontroller for an embedded system. Fine. Let's summarize everything which we have done in today's class. Embedded system serves as a brain for an automatic electronic system. Fine. So every automated system which you look around, they all consist of a microcontroller or an embedded system. Fine. Microcontrollers are definitely preferred over the microprocessor for designing an embedded system for obvious reasons which we have already explained, which we have already understood. Choosing a microcontroller for an embedded system completely depend upon the target application, and 8051 architecture, they are the most famous architecture which is released in 1985, and it is still used. The Atmel based, the PIC based 8051 processor microcontroller, they are still used and it is very famous. Fine. So we will be covering most of the part of our syllabus with 8051 itself. These are the textbooks which the learner can prefer. These are the reference books which a learner can prefer for this course. And specifically for this course, I have designed this course with this book, this 8051 microcontroller and embedded system using Muhammad Ali Mazidi. So learner can prefer this book. They'll cover all my lectures would be covered through this book itself. Fine. Thank you very much.